Right, hey guys, let's talk Loki. So I finally finished watching Loki, and yeah, it was a little bit disappointing as expected. WandaVision might actually be the better one among these three that came out, but WandaVision I think is only good towards the last two or three episodes. And as for Falcon and Winter Soldier, maybe the first few episodes are okay. And as for Loki, I think it's the in between episodes that's a little bit okay, especially the one where there's the mystery surrounding Sylvie and Loki gets to know her. I think those parts were fine, but the end revelation was just not good. It was really really bad. There's really like nothing to the story. Like nothing is gonna happen. It's just everything is like a build up to something else. It's as though all these series are just sort of fillers, and it's quite obvious that they are fillers, and I don't really like fillers. I need a series that has its story, has something, for Loki, and I think this is just not going to be one of it. It's just something else, just continue dragging the story and keeping people subscribed to Disney Plus. If you ask me, IMDb right now is scoring this at like 8 point, what is it, 8.8 or something. Let's just go to Loki. Yeah, IMDb is scoring this at 8.8, and I think that's ridiculous. 8.8 is probably the ratings for like the likes of The Mandalorian, and this series is no way, comparable to the likes of The Mandalorian, which has its own story. It has a character arc, it has character development, whereas Loki in this series has been the same since like the first episode, and he is not really any different from the Loki that we see towards the end of or rather in the beginning of Infinity War, at the end of Ragnarok. It's just already redeemed Loki that is put through the same redemption arc all over again, just through a different sort of timeline and storyline in a different place. But basically, from a villain, he becomes a hero. That's it. There's nothing too special about Loki. He doesn't develop his powers in any way. He doesn't learn more about himself or anything useful in any way. He's just still the same Loki that we saw, and it's just like a complete filler of 6 episodes for us to just stay subscribed, and there's no real story to back it up. His relationship to what do you call this? The Owen Wilson's character was really nice, but other than that, I think like the characters did their part, but other than the relationships that he had with the lady Loki and Owen Wilson from the TVA, every other character felt really in the shadows. Like this lady, she served the purpose of just being one of the TVA to actually realize that, oh, they're being mind controlled, but her character really just felt really, really cornered because a lot of the footage, or rather, a lot of the screen time, was given to Loki, who did nothing for the most part. He's just walking around, in circles, just trying to figure things out. And in the end of the day, no one figures anything out really because they just end up in another loop where everything is just preemptive, everything is just pre planned, everything is destined, everything is just like, oh, guess what? It's me. I'm the real villain, and I'm not actually a villain. And then you go to the next place where you find out that the villain is, hiding in this void towards the end of time, and he's also like, oh, I'm the real villain, but I'm also not really a villain. I'm actually trying to help you as well. So it seems like everything is just a build up to something else, and there's no real end game to this entire story. Like, I mean, it also doesn't make sense that the Loki that like all these other versions of Loki had to die in the hands of a good person who is running the entire TVA and everything. And he claims to be the hero. He claims that there are other worse versions of him, but this version of him has been sending people to the void and basically like a form of damnation, if you will, to keep them trapped forever. And Sylvie has been running her entire life away from this psychopath who just says that, oh, I'm the real villain, and actually I'm a good guy, and you can kill me now and take over and do everything that I wanted. It just proves like everything that they've done is pointless because there's no real villain, there's no real end game, there's no story, and there's no real purpose to this entire arc. Loki is just himself. He's just gone full circle, and we see him redeeming his character already in the first episode of this series, and he becomes the same Loki that he was towards the end of Thor Ragnarok, and there's no real difference. He's just a good Loki. There's nothing more to it. His character is shallow. There's no real depth. He falls in love with Sylvie, who is technically himself, which is really narcissistic, and I believe that that's very Loki-like, which is fine. I like that. But other than that, what's the point of having all these like Mjolnirs running around and all these other Lokis showing up when they serve no purpose? They're all just fillers, they're all just side characters, they're all just there because they're like, oh, guess what? We got all these other Lokis that we can show you. Okay, but so what? What did they do? Nothing. One guy builds a castle, is wiped out by this creature that's apparently controlled by a good guy who's trying to do something good. So it just comes back, in circles where the purpose of the TVA is still to do nothing basically because everything is predetermined as what the story is trying to say. Everything is already like arced into itself where the author is just showing off in a way that I can write whatever and I'm going to just make you guys continuously watch, and whatever I write has no meaning because I can write and say that it has no meaning, no purpose, and no real character arc, no real story. And yeah, that's just the case. I absolutely, didn't like this series. I think it's the worst of the Disney series that came out. I think Falcon and Winter Soldier is probably better than this one. And WandaVision, as painful as it is to say, might also be better. I don't even want to rate this series. It's probably really bad. You can just skip this if you haven't watched it already. I think it's an absolute waste of time. And also the romance scenes, if you're looking for anything special, there's nothing really special. It's just like Loki kind of falling in love with another Loki, which is himself, which is okay, I guess, but it serves no purpose. Like their romance is just cut off in a simple fight, and then it's all wasted. And the timekeeper, or sort of the the yeah, he's sort of the timekeeper. He just dies in the end, and he says that now be prepared for all the other versions of me. And he's definitely what do you call this, Kang the Conqueror. And there's just going to be more versions of him that's going to come and try to conquer the multiverse, which is probably lead us towards Doctor Strange in Multiverse of Madness. And it just feels like another setup to another story and another setup to another story. And none of the series that have come out have had any stories of themselves, like by themselves, and any valuable character development that will show you that the character is a different person towards the end and can carry those values to do something unique. Like characters that go through an arc do it because they have a purpose. They serve a part of a bigger story. But here, nothing really changes Loki to be any different than he was at the beginning of this series. He wanted to do good in the start. He wanted to find out who is creating the sacred timeline, and he's still the same towards the end. There's no difference for him. And Sylvie is also the same character. She just wanted to kill the timekeeper, and despite everything that's happened, she just kills him in the end. Like there's really no difference in whatever these characters went through and whatever they learned and whatever they saw. They're just continuously hurting each other, Loki being Loki, and I guess that's just the way these stories are going to be. So yeah, if you haven't watched it already, just don't disappoint yourself. If you really like Loki and really want to check it out, well, you can go ahead and watch it for all the flair that they threw up in this story, which is a complete filler. Owen Wilson was nice to see him play a part in this story. He's just a nice actor. You like him regardless of the role he plays. He was fun. Tom Hiddleston, of course, is fantastic as Loki. It's just unfortunate the script was so bad for him. And also Sylvie, which was played by, what's her name? Sylvie was played by Sofia Di Martino. She's also great in her character as Sylvie. It's just unfortunate once again that the script just didn't allow these characters to do anything. Like this entire showcase of this alternate Loki with like a battalion is just used for like a single sort of bar fight scene that goes nowhere, absolutely nowhere. And even the most powerful Loki that can build like an entire castle, and the guy on the left there, that yellow jacket, like old version, like tired Loki, he can build like an entire castle, literally Asgard, with his illusion magic, but teaches none of that to the Loki Prime that we are observing or following. And therefore there's just no value these side characters add besides just being there for 5 minutes to show us some cool stuff and then disappear. And I know you're gonna disagree with me, and I'm fine with it. I'm gonna take all the hatred because I feel that there's no reason to glorify these kinds of filler TV series. So yeah, just bring it on. I'll take all the dislikes, whatever.